Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today for SharePoint Best Practices for Site Design. I'm Anna Castle, Director of Marketing at Advisicon. Just a brief note about Advisicon. We are a Gold Microsoft project partner and have been in the project and portfolio space for over 20 years. And we've had the opportunity to cover quite a lot of industries ranging from manufacturing to construction to government and beyond. We're a passionate team of people who believe that project success requires a blend of both methodology and tools. We're here to meet your multiple needs. In fact, we've structured our departments to be your project management one-stop shop. So that means we're here to do a variety of what you need, whether it's consulting, training, or technical services. We have a team that's skilled and ready to engage for you. As you see on the screen, we offer a variety of ways for you to engage with us. We're really passionate about making sure that we create a format that works best for you and your project environment. Today's session is a sampling of our training, which we offer in a variety of ways, online, in person, or customized to be able to meet your specific needs. We hope that you'll check us out on our website. You'll also see that we have a store that's full of tools and books that will hopefully be helpful for you along the way. At this point, I'd love to introduce today's speaker. Jean Lieberman is our Senior Project Advisor, and Jean, welcome, and I'll kick it over to you.
All right, thank you, Anna. I'm Jean, and hopefully you can hear me. Just to double check, Anna, can you hear me?
Yep, you sound great.
Uh-oh. Okay, I got nervous there. And this is, a little bit about me that I could go line by line, but I think I'll save the time. The key thing, what it says is I get really geeked about all this stuff. I like the idea of project management and portfolio management and tools and practices, and I've been associated with PMI and MPUG and stuff like that. For whatever reason, I'm very passionate about it. And today we're going to talk about SharePoint sort of best practices for site design. So I thought I'd show a little bit of some sample SharePoint sites and creating some sites, and then some tips and best practices I've picked up along the way. I sort of would like to ask people if they can just put in the chat window just if there's anything in particular you're looking for today, or your level of use and experience with SharePoint, just so I can get an idea of what people may want, and also while I'm presenting, if there's something in particular, just ask away and Anna will stop and get the question to me. Because for one thing I can say is this is not going to be PowerPoint, it's going to be a demo. So I'm done with the PowerPoint at this point and going to move on to SharePoint. So this is when I start to pray, because I hope everything works on my computer and we're not sitting there watching something just wait around and things like that. So just to begin, I just thought I would show, I'm working off of a demo site provided by Microsoft, and this is SharePoint Online. For anybody that's been out there, Office 365 is Microsoft's cloud solution, and SharePoint Online is part of that. And this is their site with a lot of demo material content already in there. And the only reason I want to show it is, when you look at this, for people that have already been working with SharePoint, this doesn't look like your typical SharePoint site. It's really designed, and there are ways to design and brand to make things look nicer. And some sites are really geared for the external world, and a regular public website, which this sort of has a look of. And there are those that are geared more for collaboration, and we're going to be focusing more on the collaboration type sites. But just to show you that here, lots of graphic, lots of image. There are videos you can pull into, have on your website. People can get to them from here. All kinds of things. I just want to go down a little bit. So if I go to a particular website, so this is by department, and this is what meets this business, Contoso's business needs. They have their things set up by site, and when you come here, excuse me, you see this nice metric and dashboard, and for engineering, this is what they need, and this is an Excel file. It's based on data. It can be based on data from SharePoint. It can be based on other data. It's interactive, so when I click on things, you see the graphics move in regards to what I'm filtering on. Very key thing in what SharePoint can provide. I love this sort of thing. It makes it much easier. So then if I go to, let's see, finance, and I'm just really showing this so you can see the contrast, another type of file. And what you'll also notice is that what appears along here are a bunch of links that I can get to things from here. So if I go click on a link, it brings up another site or another place. I have all kinds of capabilities. And this is called the quick launch. There's navigation of two sorts in SharePoint. Around the left side, which is quick launch, and then the top bar. And that's what you're seeing here. So this is their site, and there's a whole lot more I could show you there, but I'm going to flip over to what I have set up, and I've just set up some sample things so that I could demonstrate. So it's not very rich in content like Contoso, but hopefully you'll be able to get the point. And I'm going to try and jump around a little bit so I get things out. I gave this webinar this morning, and I didn't get to some of my items that I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to talk fast and hopefully get more in. So again, if you have questions, go ahead and put them. Anna, did you get any feel for what people are looking for, or
Yeah, we did get some input, and it's centering around how to use tasks in sync with Outlook, and looks like exploring SharePoint sites in further detail.
All right, great, thank you. All right, so hopefully we'll hit some of those, or those two. All right, this is my little world. So this is my little shoe company. And this looks more like a typical collaboration SharePoint site. There are items on the left here, quick launch, and you can see there are key things related to my company announcements, pictures. This is where I went on my vacation maybe, my calendar for the company, and here I'm doing my webinar today, important things. There might be key contacts I want to keep track of. These are all items one can create on a SharePoint site. Excuse me. And you're trying to set up your site so you're gathering information that is available. It is real time. It's up to date, real time, because this is the current data. And I say that only in contrast to what we all typically do, which is we email information around. We may have a network share drive with documents, and somebody says, I need such and such, and if they don't have access to the network drive, we email them. Or we have calendars, we email. We have lists, we email all kinds of things. However, when I email it to you on Monday night, it may get updated, but you don't know that. And so particularly if you're trying to collaborate on some document, you're continually sending out, here's version 1, version 2, version 3. So having it on SharePoint, everybody gets to see the latest version. And there is such a thing as having versioning so that you can keep multiple levels of versions of documents, history, and perhaps we'll see that later, but I wanted to mention that now. So here is, this is my company site, and I have a couple of departments underneath them, one of which is the PMO department. And when I come here, it has a little bit different look to it, but up in the top you see all my projects that I'm working on, and that's by design, that I have up in this top bar, navigation bar, my projects. And underneath, or on the left in my quick launch, are all my key items for that PMO department. So I'm hoping that makes sense to people. And so what I wanted to do at this point was create a new project that would go underneath my PMO department, because they're going to help manage it. So I go to, the way to create a site is I go to Site Contents. And when I'm at Site Contents, you see all the things that I have created for this site, my announcements, my issues, tasks, whatever. And here are my subsites, which represent, if you recall, these things up here in the top bar. Those are the sites. So I'm going to create a new subsite, and I'm going to call it, let's see, my hiking boots project, if I can type. And so I give it a name, I give it a URL, it's going to use everything before it as the first part of the URL, and then I'm just going to tack on hiking, and that will be the URL to get to it. And I have templates that come with SharePoint by default, and I use one of the templates to create my site. So in this case, because I'm really dealing with a project, I'm going to create a project site and use that template. And so then I come down here, and permissions are a big thing in SharePoint. You can have everybody have the same permission, and everybody can read and write everything. Usually we lock things down. So some people can read things, some people can write. It can go down to the smallest level. So on a site, everybody can have permissions that are the same as the parent site, and it's called inheriting permissions, and that's what this is set at. And then I can have a document library in that site that can have different permissions, or I can have a folder in the document library that can have different permissions, on down to the actual document. So you have that flexibility, which can also get confusing, but it is there and is useful. So I'm going to leave permissions to the parent site, so I'm not going to do anything different. Do I want to display this on the quick launch of the parent site? So that would be the PMO department site. I don't want it on the quick launch, which is over on the left. Do I want to display it on the top link? Yes, because I want this is another project I want displayed on the top. And then I'm going to use the PMO department top link bar for my project. So I hit create, and mostly I want to show you this because it is easy to do. Because in the world of web world, it used to be you had to be a developer to do things, and with SharePoint you don't have to be that. So you saw how easy it was. I created this project, now it's up here, Hiking Boots project, and I get the template, and this is the template, and it's the basic sort of thing, and I can change this look all over. And the first thing I'm going to do, I just want to change the look and feel of it. So I come over, and again, it used to be hard to do, but now it's not. So I can get these different options by default that are in there, and I'm going to pick, Blossom. And Blossom gives me this image. See how this image over here? And I can remove that or change it to something else. And I'm going to pick one of those pictures I took on my vacation. We'll see. And see how it brings in that picture, and it makes it be something so it's transparent and behind the scenes. And I can change the color, look and feel. Maybe I want this one. I sort of like that one. And the other key thing is this site layout. And just want to mention this. So right now they came up with these names, Seattle, Oslo. Somebody must have been on vacation. So Seattle um, means that the layout means that there is a quick launch thing here, the quick launch navigation, and the top bar navigation here. And you'll notice when I changed the Oslo, so just one thing, this is first menu item, second menu, blah, blah, blah. So then I changed to Oslo, and you'll notice how that quick launch goes away, and it's now up here. And it has a different look. It's a little more, it's a little less SharePoint-y, like, if that makes sense to you. So it's a choice. I'm going to go ahead and leave it as Seattle because I want to use the quick launch. I can change the fonts to be something that I think is cool or whatever. Then I hit try it out, and hopefully it doesn't spin for a long time. And hopefully it doesn't spin for a long time. I'm going to have to tell a joke in a second, and I'm not sure I know any clean jokes. It will eventually get to a place. If I talk slow, will that speed it up? So it shows you based on the choices I've made, and it'll pop up in a sec, and it now throws the content on, you see, and I say, yes, I like it, I'm going to keep it. So again, what did it take me to do that? Not very much. Now there's lots of options in SharePoint, and you can see that control panel, the site settings. But now I have a site, and I can do all kinds of things here. So I might want to add a particular app, and adding an app is just, and things are now called app in the world. So if I have an issues list, and we often have issues lists, so I think I just want to call it issues. And you saw how easy. All I said is add an app. I picked the particular app I wanted, and apps are basically, for the most part, document library sorts of things or list sorts of things. And you're seeing a list sort of thing. And I'm going to do a quick edit here. So this is hiking issue 1, and I'm just going to really go. And one thing when you're doing something in a list like this, you'll notice I'm on this line, and you'll see this little pencil. You have to move to a different line in order to get it to save. And sometimes if you don't remember that, you'll move away and you won't save the thing. So I have an issues list. I've just added something that would be important for a project. I can do other things, a couple other things, which are in this title, description, and logo. For any site, I can change the logo. So if I take off what's currently there, it goes to the default. Or I can go, and I'm just going to pick something else. And now I have a logo different, and it wasn't hard. It just was something I could pick and do. You know, now I have admin rights, and as an admin, you see things here. I can change what is being kept on the quick launch. Like I'm going to move this, I think, up here, and I'm going to get rid of this, and I have that capability. And if I didn't, if a user logs in, they wouldn't see this edit links sort of thing. And so you only see what you're really supposed to see. So here I've created this new project, and I've started, and I don't have any tasks yet, but I have some issues. So I'm going to go back up to my PMO, and now here's my project. And the other key thing that I can do, let me go back to it for a sec, is I could manipulate it and get add some more apps, take some off. This is a default getting started with your site thing that comes by default, but I can easily get rid of it. Whatever I can do, when I'm done, if I go to my site settings, I can say, now save this site as my template. And I'm going to call it my shoe project template, and give it the same template name. And if I had content, say there were some documents I wanted every project site to have, maybe it's SOPs, maybe it's a business case form, whatever, I could load up the document library here and say include the content and save this project site or this SharePoint site as a template. And then the next time, come on, do the save. So it did it okay. So now the next time I'm sitting in my PMO and I want to do a new project, I go to my site contents, same thing we did before, do a new project or a new subsite, and this time, where last time I used the project site, I now come over to custom and you see project created a template site, and I can also saved it as a have my other department I have here is the help desk, and that from there I could create different looking thing and save it as a template. And then possibly, if I understand the question, through permissioning and things, the different sites, the help desk sites and the subsites could use one template and the PMO department could use another template. And that way you would have the look and feel, and you could use some security to help drive this, and then you'd have differences based on the different departments. And a little bit of what I think I showed you with Contoso sort of went that way. Anything else there, Anna?
Sorry about that, Jean. I was
Uh-oh,
experiencing
I've lost her.
some audio difficulties.
All right, I'm just going to keep going, and I can occasionally look at the question thing and see what's going on. Or you're having some problem, I can hear. Yeah, you're having audio, but are other people having audio? Can you all hear me okay? Where is my question? Yes, not audio issue. Ah, gosh, Richard Kearns. you just hit on what I was going to do next. I think I'm okay, Anna. I understand you're having audio, but they can hear me. There is an issues list that I set up, and ABC. Okay. And what I did is I used a web part, and I think this is sort of cool. So, and I'll show you a little bit. So I used a web part that says, go into this site and all my subsites, and for every site that has this issues list, roll them up to here, because as the PMO department, I want to see what the issues are. And so let me just show you a little bit of how one would do that. So I go to the page, and I say edit the site, and when you see that, you see the sort of the layout and how you create these things. So if I am here and I say, okay, I want to insert what's called a web part, and web parts are the little pieces of content in an organized and designed and organized fashion on your sites. And so there are the actual SharePoint parts that I created on a site there, or I can go to they're grouped into just different groupings, pulling things together. And there are different roll-up web parts that and I'm a little flustered because the one I wanted to show you isn't listed here because of other things I've configured. But it's content query. I brought it in here, and when I can then, once it's there, and this is just straight SharePoint sort of stuff, you insert a web part, and then you configure it. So from that drop-down, I said configure this query. It's called a content query web part. And I say show items from the following sites and all subsites. And when I did that, I picked the PMO department. I want to see everything from that level on down. And what list am I trying to follow? I'm following the issue tracking, or trying to roll up issue tracking. I called it issues, but it's based on this list called the issues tracking. And so, and then I give it a couple of parameters. I can filter saying only give me issues that are this, only give me, but I didn't filter. I just wanted to show things. And then how I present it, I can sort it a certain way, I can group it, and I can say how many columns. So for example, I can say, well, I'm just going to have one column. And when I do that, and it's waiting. But I think I'm talking much faster. I'm getting through more things here, so hopefully that's helpful. So now my roll-up, you'll see the roll-up is just project by project and the issues. Now, that's what you can do with this thing. You can also go in and do a little more coding sorts of things to get more than just the one field to show up. But for right now, I didn't want to get into that level. I just really wanted to show through using a web part, I'm able to roll up all that information. I did this in SharePoint 2007, and I had to go through a lot more effort to get that roll-up to happen. So I hope that shows all right, I think I'm good with questions right now, and I hope this is being helpful. Again, if there's stuff I'm not hitting, let me know. So one thing, there was a question about OneNote, and you'll notice I'm in the PM. Let me get out of editing the page. So I'm done. I'm going to save this page, and this is what the world will see now. And I could change it back because I sort of liked it more condensed. But one thing is already a part of this. If you turn on a feature in a site, and let me just show that real quick, because a lot of this is, again, so manage site features, it's picking and choosing, it's not programming. So somewhere down here it says OneNote, Site Notebook. Create a OneNote notebook in the Shared Documents library. It's active. If it was not active, I'd activate it, but I'm already there. So when on that site, when I'm there, I'm going to just use the quick launch. It brings up a OneNote that's already been created, and I can start using it, and it is coordinated, and it's a part of this project site. And I love OneNote. I think that's a great thing. I use it for everything. All right, let me look at my little list here. I think I'm gonna jump to something else. There was a question. Let me just double check. There was a question. And tasks in sync with Outlook. So let me jump to my little Outlook part here. So there is a whole thing with SharePoint and connecting to Outlook. And the reason I find that very important is because I find most people live and die by Outlook. That's where we have our email, and this is my email for my user. I'm the admin on that site. This is my email there, and excuse me. And I'm always constantly looking at my calendar, and I'm always, checking everything out from Outlook. So one big advantage I find is that I can link things from SharePoint into my Outlook. Now, let me just go do my baking thing behind the scenes, because I did this before. All right, I think I'm back to before. So, all right, so here I am. Now here I am on my shoe company, and I have some key contacts. So it's good if I want to get their phone number, I can come here and, it might be all kinds of people. Like I said, it could be vendors, or I didn't say that. There can be vendors and internal people, contractors, whatever. So I can come here, get their phone number, or email them from here, whatever. But another thing I can do, so I can go up in the ribbon, and the ribbon is hidden until you click on something in SharePoint in this version. So if I click on List, there's a little icon here, Connect to Outlook. And so it is so easy that I just click on there, and it says, do I want to allow it to connect to Outlook? Yes, I do. And then I come over to Outlook and I get asked again, is it okay to connect this key contacts? And I do yes. And all of a sudden, I have this information here. It is in my Outlook. It is the same information that is in SharePoint. And in fact, I can edit it if I want to change. So here, although I'm having some trouble right here, so instead of Star Wars, Starbucks. And so I save that, and it should have changed, and it may not. So my example, we'll see if it changed here. It was giving me a little bit of trouble there. But I'll do something in another one, and I'll show you the point I'm making. So here is my contacts, my key contacts, and it shows up in my Outlook. I love that. All right, so another one. Whoops. So another one is I have a company calendar. Here, company calendar, all these items, same sort of thing. If I want to come here and do stuff, that's great. Or I click up here in calendar, same thing, play the same game. Connect to Outlook, allow. And then I come here and it asks me again and I say yes. And now that calendar shows up here. And when it's in Outlook, I can have different colors on it. In SharePoint, can't change the fill colors for the events. But I can now say, remember to pick up paycheck. Now, I did a simple little thing. I added it here, and I come over here, and it's not here. Yes. Let me just try a little refresh. Remember to pick up paycheck. It's here. I can edit it here. I can edit it here. I can view it either place. I think that's great. I find that very, very helpful. And I hope you do too. Let me see. There was one other one I have. So I'm on my company, and let me see. Let me go to my site contents. So I have tasks. And so let me see if this is the one that. So for my tasks, same game, and I believe this is what the question was, can I bring this into Outlook? Same game, same questions. Now I have a task list that shows the tasks that were in SharePoint. Again, I think this is great. I love this feature of SharePoint. So that's connecting to Outlook. All right, I wanted to talk about documents a little bit. So like I said, things are, for the most part, document libraries or lists. And so we were looking at the issues list. We rolled up the issues list. Now I want to look at a document library. And so, every company has to have SOPs, standard operating procedures. And if you look, I've created just a little document library. And this looks like anything you'd see on your network share or your hard drive. There are 3 folders. I go down into the folder, and there are my files. And I come back up, and I go down to the next one, blah, blah, blah. So that's sort of the typical way we think of doing documents and folders. However, one or a key thing about SharePoint is documents are not just documents. You know, on your hard drive, you can change some of the properties and things, but there can be extra columns of data, metadata. So if I go into the settings for this document library, SOPs, you can see that there are columns here of other data relevant to this document library. And I created them. Title was here by default, and created, modified, blah, 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 all that was there by default. But I put in, I want a drop-down choice for department. And I've put in these 4 departments. And I want to say whether this SOP is required or not. And so I've created a field, and it's a flag field, a checkbox field. Yes or no by default, yes, it's required. So you see the game I'm playing. I've created these different fields that are important to SOP, and when I upload a document or create a new document, I get asked to fill in these fields. Let me go show you. So here is my one item, and let me see if I can find. So I can edit the properties, and it's asking me, do I want to check it out? Because I put a little secure in there, secure feature that says anytime I'm going to make changes to a document, I have to check it out. That way, no one else can be making changes to it at the same time I'm making changes. And that has become important in 2013 because you can have 2 or more people working on the same document at the same time. Sorry for the cough here. So here are that metadata that I set up in the document library. And I can say, oh, this is not part of the finance. This is really an IT, even though it says finance. I can change the property on it. And so I changed it, and now you'll see this. Well, where that becomes very useful, very, very useful, is instead of having these folders like this, and this is dictated by a view. You have columns that define the data you're going to put on an item or put into the document library, and there are views which dictate how you're going to see the information. And right now we're seeing the typical default all documents view, which shows folders and these items. I created a couple of my own views, and I said, okay, by author, and by author says get rid of those folders. So you'll notice there's no folders there. I can look at any of these documents here. I can also collapse this. If I had 55 authors, I could set it up so it'd be collapsed and I wouldn't have to mess with it. And it's using the information I put in as the SOP author and having that view, and it makes it makes a lot more sense, makes it a lot easier to deal with. And now you'll look at, I have another view by department. And same thing, my finance, I didn't have to move it out of a folder and move it into another folder. I just changed data. And this is such a great thing to have. And hopefully this is something you'll try. So here's that finance SOP. I changed data. I didn't change location. I don't have to. Because I let the data dictate how it's going to be displayed in the view. I love this, and I think it's a great thing. Also talked about the check-in, check-out, and you see this little icon here, this little green arrow. It means that project or that document is checked out. Now, maybe I did that by mistake, or maybe I'm done with it and I want to check it back in so somebody else can edit it. You'll see these ellipses all over the place for things in lists and document library. I hit that. It's sort of like the right click of the world, and it'll bring up a view possibly and tell me some info, and here's the link to that document. I might want to copy that and put it in an email to somebody, or I might just share this and say, hey, come check out this document. I don't have to email the document. I'm just sending an email, and it'll put the link in. And it will be the most recent version of the link. And I can say, no, I just want this person to edit it. So it'll do that, and it sends it off. And I can do all kinds of things. I can open it here, open it in Word. I can look at the version history. I can rename it, delete it. I can also do things with permissions. At some point I can have, there's a workflow on this, so I can have it go around for approval. I don't think we have time for that, but that was easy enough to set up. All kinds of things. And so that's what you'll see, this ellipsis for things, and you want to, you know, take it down as far as you need to, if you need to. All right, let me get to another thing, which are site columns. So my key contacts, and I look at how I defined that. So I look in the list settings. Now there are a bunch of things that come by default when I say give me a contact list. But I have created myself a thing called contact type. And it's a lookup choice thing that people can choose, and I say internal contractor vendor, and various things, and it's now part of this list. And so when you look at the key contacts, you can see I've added it. It's here in the view. Well, that's good. Now say I had 12 departments underneath this, and I wanted them all to use that contact type so that we all get the same info, because maybe we want to roll it up and look at it later. So I could go into each of 12 sites, and in my key contacts I could add that that field, contact type, and type in those choices, and yeah, that would be done. So then a little time goes by and I want to add 2 more choices to it. Well, then I could go back in those 12 sites and go into those 12 lists and add it in. Well, that seems very tedious to me. So there's a little trick that you can do, or a little feature, I should say, that is in the site settings, and there are things called site columns. And in the site columns, I can create a column which represents the same thing, and can save it into a place, my company, and I'm putting in, I copied those from before, and I say OK. So now this is a site column which is available at the site and at a site or a subsite below. So let me see if I have. So if I add an app, so if I create a contacts list, and they're called apps, but I'm creating a list, and here it is. There's nothing there. but I want that same field in there. And so I can create the column, or I can add from existing site columns. And that's where I get the benefit. So my contact type, I'm adding it in. And now I don't, what if I misspelled here? Things like that. I've got the same everything, and it's now part of this list. And now it's here, and I can edit it and blah, 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 blah. And there's those choices. Now, say in 2 months, I think, oh, we want to add 2 more choices. I don't go back to each of my 12 department sites. I just go to the site column and make the changes there, and it perpetuates through all of them. Pretty simple concept, nice feature to have. And there are also ways to have lists be templates, so it can have everything, and then you bring it in to sites. This, all sorts of templates exist. You can have a list template, you can have a site template. That's why you would get a site all set up the way you want and save it as a template and then bring it in. Making sense? Let me just see. I have one other thing I think I can squeeze in today, which is promoted lists. So if I go to, where, I'm trying to think where I have this still. Let me look at this one. Let me try this one. If you recall, when I created my site, it had this get started with your site. And if I go here, click on it, it gives me different options with a real nice interface, this tile interface, to do things. So where am I doing this? New hottest. So if I go to my new hottest project, you will see that I have created my own promoted list with these titles. And the same sort of thing. I've set it up, and I'll show you how I set it up because it's real easy. But I can come here and I can set it up so I say, oh, PMI website, okay. And it brings up, because I said bring it up in another tab, and here I am now in the PMI website. So I come back here, and this is, let's see what this one is, a good support company, very good support for project. That sounds like a good thing to do. So I hit that, and it brings, oh look, it brings up Advisicon. Wasn't that clever? All right, so here I am. So maybe I want a couple more, and what do I do? So I go to my key activities, which is what I've called this promoted list, and that's the name. When I went to add an app, I added a promoted list, and I want to edit these, but if I click on it, I can't edit it. So I have to change the view, and I change to this all promoted links, and now I'm dealing with text. And so here, maybe I no longer want this one. Can I get rid of this? Yes, I can. So I get rid of it. So it's no longer on my list. Or I want to add something else in. It's just a matter of, I'm going to add this one back in. And the link, the address is and actually that was the link for the image, so that was wrong because I don't know the image. I have to go find. So but I'm just typing in. So this is what I wanted. And that's going to be the link, and I want that to go to in-page. No, I want that new tab, and I want it to be 5th on the tile. And I move up here so it writes it, and now when I change the view back to the tiles. Now I don't have a picture for it. I'd have to get that, and I just didn't do that right now. But I'm here. I can go, this is how I can get back to my company homepage. It's a great feature. It's not hard to do, and it's there. All right, I have a few other things, but I think I'm running out of time and can't really get to them this time. So maybe we'll do this again. Let me just check and see if there are other questions and see if I can hit them.
Anna's asked me to step in, Jean, and
okay.
share with you. We've got one question. Somebody asked, what is the difference between publishing sites and non-publishing sites?
Okay. So one thing is publishing sites versus sort of collaboration sites. What we've been dealing with here, looking at this, are collaboration sites where you're working with the web part. You're really focusing in on people contributing, collaborating. They're writing too, and so you use a what's called non-publishing site. It's a one of the site features that you don't use. It's actually a publishing feature that you don't use because you're collaborating. On the when I go back to my wherever it was, my Contoso environment, that is more, their publishing is more for putting information out for people to consume. And so by turning on a feature called publishing for a site, you get different capabilities that make it much more friendlier for displaying information. You'll see how this, like I said, this looks more like an external website that you might be using to put information out. Hopefully that makes sense.
Thanks, Jean. That's a great answer. And we had one last question I think we can squeeze in. Folks are already trying to apply this information, which is super. If my company has Project Online, will I still set up sites for my projects in the way you showed?
Oh, good question. So let me go back. So here we went through this whole thing, and I have this PMO site, and I went through, I got a new project. So I go create the site and all that. Well, Project Online is another offering from Office 365, and I have it here for this particular site. And Project Online is all about managing projects and your portfolio. So when I have projects here, the really nice thing is it sets up a whole bunch of functionality, one of which is that it sets up a much richer environment to manage and have for your SharePoint project site for your collaboration. So you'll notice there are more features here. It's syncing the tasks over, but a lot of the same things we went through, but we don't have to do it ourselves. The tool does it for you. And it's always better, I think, if we can't rely on tools all by themselves. There have to be sort of the whole process and the people part, but it's nice when tools will take over and do some of the grunt work for you. All right, Ken, I think I'm done, and we've got 2 minutes. If there are other questions or other things to finish up with.
I think we'll get on to our housekeeping matters then, Jean. Thank you so very much for presenting today's webinar on SharePoint Best Practices for Site Design. To our attendees group, we've got a list of potential next steps for you. If you're interested in checking out Office 365, SharePoint, Project Online, or the business intelligence capabilities, we'd be more than happy to set up a demonstration and a free trial for you. If you want to discuss what potential next steps would be for you in your environment in order to address a series of issues or needs that you've identified, we'd be more than happy to conduct a free consultation session and help you to plan that work. We've additionally got some public classes available, and you can check out our calendar at www.advisicon.com/training to see what is available in terms of our public classes that are already on the calendar. If you see something or you don't see something that you're interested in, or you've got an interest in free trials or a sanity check consultation session, please send us an email at contact@advisicon.com or call us at 866-362-3847. And we'd be more than happy to help discuss any of those items. Thank you again for joining today's session. As soon as the webinar is finished, you will receive a window in your GoToWebinar application with a survey on today's webinar. Please complete and submit your survey in order to get the PDUs. We welcome your suggestions, and we very much want your feedback on future topics. Again, if you do have any follow-up questions that you didn't get a chance to submit during the webinar, please send them to us at contact@advisicon.com. And with that, we'll wrap up today's webinar, and we thank you very much for participating.